So here we are in the town of Saint-Pierre on the island of Martinique, a small town which just over 100 years ago was completely leveled and destroyed by a volcano. And not just a normal eruption, it was described as much more of an explosion, just as if a modern-day atomic bomb had gone off and sent a heat wave of fire and hot gases down through the city at what was calculated to be over 100 meters per second in order to cause this much damage and devastation. Now that is over 220 miles an hour. Can you even imagine what that must have been like? The citizens just going about their daily business, standing in the streets, talking to their neighbors, having dinner, laying in bed, were just instantly incinerated where they stood or where they laid. The temperature of the blast was almost 400 degrees Celsius or over 700 degrees Fahrenheit. Coming off the mountain at over 220 miles per hour, there's absolutely no way anybody could escape.
Take your heart away, and when the world comes crashing down, you gotta hold your ground. And when the world comes crashing down,
Now I know you guys will call me on this if I'm out of line, but having visited this city several times over the past few years, I've always had the initial same thought. Who in their right mind decided to rebuild this city? I mean, not only did they rebuild it from the ground up, literally from ashes and boulders, they built it in the exact same spot, on the exact same island, under the exact same volcano. And that volcano is by no means dead. It's just dormant currently, but that doesn't mean it can't spring back to life at any time. It came back to life with only 2 weeks notice last time, they just didn't know enough to recognize the signs. I mean, having my entire city wiped out, completely demolished, everybody dies in the disaster, so not even the people who lived here decided to rebuild it, but someone came along and thought, yeah, let's rebuild it. I mean, seriously. And I know you'll call me on this if I'm out of line again, but if I lived in a house and a big voice boomed down from the attic one night and said, "Get out." Sorry, but I'd pack my shit and get the fuck out. No, that's not entirely true. I likely wouldn't stop to pack my stuff. I'd just get out. But you look at this and yes, it's magnificent. The splendor of the city, the picturesque village on the water, and the volcano. And I know it looks pretty and green up there right now, but it looked like that before it blew up last time. And it's just waiting to happen again. Maybe it won't happen in our time, but almost guaranteed it's gonna happen again. So while I'll certainly continue to appreciate it for what it is, you won't see me asking about real estate here anytime soon. So the major features of Saint-Pierre were the two major gathering places, one of which of course was the big cathedral church you just saw, which is located in the southern end of the city, and the other being the theater, which is located in the northern part of the city. Now both suffered major damage, and they're still restoring the church as you could see, but the remains of the theater remain virtually untouched. This was a very grand theater and a place where all the townspeople and socialites would gather for performances put on by artists that were brought in from Paris of France. And that made Saint-Pierre decidedly the cultural center for the French in the Caribbean, even above the capital city of Fort-de-France further south in the island. And if you look just over the theater boundary walls, you'll see that is where the prison is. And that was where the only person that was in the city survived. This man, Louis Augusta, a man charged for attacking his friend with a cutlass and subsequently thrown into this cell underground. And you can only imagine, if he didn't feel lucky when they threw him in that cell, I'd be willing to bet money he felt pretty lucky when he found his way out of there and saw what happened around him. Back here. Oh, there we go. That is where the sole survivor of the 1902 blast weathered the storm. Now let's go back to the church, and you can tell just to look at it, this structure must have been a major architectural accomplishment for that day. Built almost 400 years ago, and on a small island with a small population at that, you can only imagine what they must have went through to build this cathedral. There aren't many pictures of the cathedral before the 1902 devastation, but even this one gives enough of a hint that it was clearly very well decorated with the finest appointments, likely shipped directly from France. But now, as you can see, they are restoring the church to its modern-day elegance, getting it ready for future generations in the coming centuries. Or maybe just until the volcano knocks it down again, but you didn't hear that from me. Right behind the Grand Cathedral was another structure of significant stature. Built in 1851 for the purposes of becoming a Dominican monastery, it was later converted to serve as the bishop's main residence, until of course when the volcano completely demolished it, so there is nothing remaining here aside from the fountain, and the rest, as you can see, is a beautiful park area for the locals to visit. Right behind the bishop's palace was the town's cemetery. They always say you can judge a culture by two things: how they treat their animals and how they treat their dead. And we were completely amazed with this cemetery. It is astonishing. So well maintained and very respectful of all the beloved ones that lay rest here.
rum, sugar, coconut milk, all the same.
So you
So
need
this, that's what we need. And a boat.
some fish.
And love.
You can see all the original cobblestone roads are here, and they've paved over top of them now.